Chapter 6, Self-Esteem, Building a Positive Attitude. Part 1. What a man thinks of himself, that is what determines or rather indicates his fate. Henry David Thoreau. A beggar was sitting at a train station with a bowl full of pencils. A young executive passed by and dropped $1 into the bowl, but did not take any pencils. He then boarded the train. Just before the doors were to close, the executive suddenly exited the train and went back to the beggar. He grabbed a bunch of pencils and said, "I will take some pencils. They are priced right. After all, you are a business person, and so I am." And he dashed back onto the train. 6 months later, the executive attended a party. The beggar was also there, dressed in suit and tie. The beggar recognized the executive, went up to him and said, "You probably don't recognize me, but I remember you." He then narrated the incident that happened 6 months before. The executive said, "Now that you remind me, I do recall that you were begging. What are you doing here in a suit and tie?" The beggar replied, "You probably don't know what you did for me that day. Instead of giving me a charity, you treated me with dignity. You grabbed the bunch of pencils and said, 'They are priced right. After all, you are a business person, and so I am.' After you left, I thought to myself what I am doing here, why I am begging. I decided to do something constructive with my life. I packed my bag, started working, and here I am. I just want to thank you for giving me back my dignity. That incident changed my life." What changed in Beggar's life? What changed was his self-esteem went up and so did his performance. This is magic of self-esteem in our lives. Simply, self-esteem is how we feel about ourselves. Our opinion of ourselves critically influences everything from our performance at work, our relationship, and our role as parents, to our accomplishment in life. Self-esteem is a major component to determining success or a failure. High self-esteem leads to a happy, gratifying, and purposeful life. Unless you perceive yourself as worthwhile, you cannot have a high self-esteem. Self-esteem gives you internal drive. All great leaders and teachers throughout history have concluded that one must be internally driven in order to be a success. We transfer our unconscious self-appraisal to others and they respond to us accordingly. People with high self-esteem grow in conviction, competence, and willingness to accept responsibility. They face life with optimism, have better relationships, and more fulfilling lives. They are motivated and ambitious. They are more sensitive, their performance and risk-taking ability go up. They are open to new opportunities and challenges. They can give and receive criticism and compliments, tactfully and with ease. Self-esteem is a feeling that comes from the awareness of what is good and having done it. Self-esteem is our self-concept. There is a story about a farmer who planted pumpkins on his land. For no reason, he put a small pumpkin hanging by the vine into a glass jar. At harvest time, he saw that the pumpkin had grown equivalent only to the shape and size of the jar. Just as the pumpkin could not grow behind the boundaries restricting it, you cannot perform beyond the boundaries of your self-concept, whatever those boundaries may be. Some advantage of high self-esteem. There is a direct relationship between people's feeling and their productivity. High self-esteem is evident in respect for oneself, others, property, law, parents, and one's country. The reverse is also true. High self-esteem builds strong convictions, creates willingness to accept responsibility, build optimistic attitudes, lead to better relationship and fulfilling lives, develops a caring attitude and makes a person more sensitive to other needs, makes a person self-motivated and ambitious, makes a person open to new opportunity and challenges, improve performance and increases risk-taking ability, helps a person give and receive both criticism and compliments tactfully and easily. prefer loss of a business to a loss of credibility because they realize that one cannot put a price on one's credibility. Low self-esteem. How do we recognize poor self-esteem? What are the behavior patterns of person with poor self-esteem? The following is a brief list that is not all inclusive but is indicative. They are generally gossip mongers. They have critical nature. They criticize as if there is a contest going on to see who can criticize the most. They are concerned about egos. They are arrogant and pretend they know it all. People with low self-esteem are generally difficult to work with and work for. They tear down others to get a feeling of superiority. They are close-minded and self-centered. They constantly make excuses, always justifying failures. They never accept responsibility, always blaming others. They have a fatalistic attitude. They have no initiative and always wait for things to happen. They are jealous by nature. They are unwilling to accept positive criticism. They become defensive. They are bored and uncomfortable when alone. Poor self-esteem leads to a breakdown in decency. People with low self-esteem don't know where to draw the line, where decency stops and vulgarity starts. It is not unusual for people to tell jokes at social get-togethers, but with every drink the jokes get dirtier and dirtier. They don't have genuine friends because they are not genuine themselves. They make promises they know they are not going to keep. A person with a low self-esteem would promise the moon to make a sail. Promises not kept lead to loss of credibility. Their behavior is senseless and erratic. They swing from one end of the pendulum to another. They may be all sugar and honey today, but the same people may be out to cut your throat tomorrow. They lack balance. They alienate people and tend to be lonely. They are touchy by nature. This is called the fragile ego. Anytime something is said, a person with fragile ego takes it personally and gets hurt. It leads to dejection. What is the difference between being touchy and being sensitive? Touchiness is the cactus approach, touch me and I will hurt you. Being sensitive is the positive approach, the caring approach. Many times the two are used interchangeably. People say, be careful when talking to so and so. He or she is a very sensitive. What they are really saying is that the person is touchy, so be careful. They have negative expectation of themselves and others and are seldom disappointed in those expectations. They lack confidence. Number one, they constantly seek approval and validation from others. Seeking approval is different from seeking a second opinion, which really means consultation. Number two, they brag about themselves, a sign of lack of confidence. Number three, they exhibit submissive or timid behavior. These are the people who constantly apologize for their existence. They are always putting themselves down, which is different from being humble. Humility comes from confidence, whereas putting yourself down comes from lack of it. A person who lacks confidence cannot be an effective leader. Others sense this lack of confidence, which results in lack of respect. Number four, they lack assertiveness. People with low self-esteem are not willing to stand up for their beliefs. On the other hand, being unduly aggressive is also a sign of poor self-esteem. Being aggressive is a situation that requires compassion does not amount of assertiveness. Number five, their lack of confidence results in conformist behavior. The thinking is if everybody is doing it, then I should too. Every day we see people giving in to peer pressure, knowing full well what they are doing could be a detrimental to themselves or others. Yet they do it to be accepted. People with low self-esteem go along to get along. They are looking for outside validation because they lack confidence in themselves. Number 6. They try to keep up with the Joneses. When people buy houses, cars and other possessions and participate in the activities to impress others, they often spend money they haven't earned and buy things they don't need or like. All of this is an attempt to impress others. others whom they don't necessarily like or admire. Number 7. They exhibit nonconformist or attention seeking behavior. In order to gain attention, people with poor self esteem might do senseless things just to stand out and be noticed. They get a kick and a sense of importance from perversion. Some people choose to do wrong and be wrong, just to do different and gain attention. Examples are people who brag excessively, the classroom clown, people who are dressed flamboyantly, and so forth. They are indecisive and do not accept responsibility. Lack of courage and fear of criticism lead to indecisive behavior. They rebel against authority. I make a distinction between rebelling out of the courage of one's conviction and rebelling because of poor self esteem. All the great world leaders such as Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King, and Abraham Lincoln were rebels. They rebelled against authority out of the courage of their conviction. A person with low self-esteem rebels against authority just because it is authority, even when the authority is right. They are antisocial and may be withdrawn. They lack a sense of direction and have an I don't care attitude that is reflected in their behavior. They have a hard time giving or receiving compliments. In giving, they feel they might be misconstrued, and in receiving, they feel they are undeserving. Feeling unworthy is not humility. They place too much emphasis on material things. People with poor self esteem judge your worth by your possessions, not by who you are. They look at what kind of car you drive, what kind of home you live in, and what kind of clothes and jewelry you wear. They forget that people make things and not vice versa. People with poor self esteem place more emphasis on net worth than self worth. Their lives revolve around ads and fads. Designer labels are their status symbols. Take away their possessions and they will die of shame. They get into rat race. As Lily Tomlin said, the problem with the rat race is that even if you win, you are still a rat. They show a lack of pride in themselves. They are uncount. They are takers, not givers. Low self-esteem could lead to extremes of behaviors. A person with high self-esteem could choose identical behavior for different reasons. He may be alone because he prefers solitude, whereas a person with low self-esteem prefers to be alone because he is uncomfortable in groups. Here are some comparison characteristics of people with high and low self-esteem. High self-esteem, talk about ideas. Low self-esteem, talk about people. High self-esteem, caring attitude. Low self-esteem, critical attitude. Humility, arrogance. Respect authority, rebels against authority. Courage of conviction, goes along to get along. Confidence, confusion. Concerned about character, concerned about reputation. Assertive, aggressive. Accept responsibility, blames the whole world. Self-interest, selfish. Optimistic, fatalistic. Understanding, greedy. Willing to learn, know it all. Sensitive, touchy. Solitude, lonely. Discuss, argue. Believe in self-worth, is in net worth only. Guided, misguided. Discipline, distorted sense of freedom. Internally driven, externally driven. Respects others, looks down on others. Enjoy decency, enjoy vulgarity. Knows limit, everything goes. Giver, taker. The objective of this list is to provide a basis for self-evaluation, not to produce guilt. It is not necessary to have all the high self-esteem traits. Some characteristics may be present to a greater or lesser degree. So long as we are able to recognize our goals, we can make an effort to improve yourself. Why put on a mask? A young executive with poor self-esteem was promoted, but he couldn't reconcile himself to his new office and position. There was a knock of his door. To show how important busy he was, he picked up the phone and then asked the visitor to come in. As the man waited for the executive kept talking on the phone, nodding and saying, "No problem, I can handle that." After a few minutes, he hung up and asked the visitor what he could do for him. The man replied, "Sir, I am here to connect your phone." What is the message? Why pretend it? What are we trying to prove? What do we want to accomplish? Why do we need to lie? Why look for a feeling of false importance? All of these types of behavior comes from insecurity and poor self-esteem. Why pretend? Our character can be judged by everything we do or don't do, like or don't like. Our character is revealed by the kind of company we keep or avoid, how we treat others, especially our subordinates, the elderly and disabled, our choice of books, music, and movies, the kind of jokes we tell or laugh at. Every action of ours gives us away anyway. So why pretend? I believe that if a person lives with conviction, sensitivity, and cooperation, he can move others with his effort. That person becomes worthy of self respect. Positive self esteem and negative self esteem. Positive self esteem, self respect, self confidence, self worth, self acceptance, self love, self knowledge, self discipline. Negative self esteem, self put down, self doubt, self abuse, self denial, self centeredness, self deceit, self indulgence. Self-esteem is the way we feel about ourselves. Self-image is the way we see ourselves. When we feel good, the world looks nice. Productivity goes up and the relationships are a lot better. The reverse is just true. High self-esteem does not mean having a big ego. Unless a person is at peace with himself, he cannot be at peace with others. Just as we cannot give to others what we don't have unless we possess the components of self-esteem. We cannot share it with others. We need to first evaluate ourselves honestly and put ourselves in order. Even in aircraft, the safety instructions tell you to put on your oxygen mask first before helping your child. This is not selfishness. You need to be strong physically to help others physically, and you need to be strong emotionally before you can give to others emotionally. Causes of low self-esteem. We start forming our self-esteem positive or negative from the day we are born. We develop feelings about ourselves that are reinforced by others. Negative self-talk or negative auto-suggestion. Negative self-talk is when we say to ourselves, consciously or unconsciously, statements such as, "I have poor memory," "I am not good at math," "I am not an athlete," "I am tired." Such statements only reinforce the negative and put us down. Very soon our minds start believing these statements and our behavior changes accordingly. They become self-fulfilling prophecies. Environment, home. The greatest gift a parent can give his children are roots. The best part of family tree is the roots. Noticing a little girl courteous and polite behavior, the teacher asked, "Who taught you to be a courteous and polite?" The girl replied, "No one. It just runs in our family." Upbringing. Fellow citizens, why do you turn and scrape every stone to gather wealth and take so little care of your children to whom one day you must relinquish it all? Socrates. In order for our children to turn out well, we need to spend twice the time and half the money. It is less painful to learn in youth than to be ignorant as adults. Parents with high self-esteem breed confidence and high self-esteem in their children by giving them positive concepts, beliefs, and values. The reverse is also true. It is a great heritage to have honest parents. Parents who participate in crooked business deals unfortunately set bad example for their future generations. A strong role model or a mentor could be a parent, relative or teacher who is held in high regard during their formative years. Children look up to adults in position of influence. Even as adults, we look to our supervisors and managers as role models. Little eyes upon you. There are little eyes upon you, and they are watching night and day. There are little ears that quickly take in every word you say. There are little hands all eager to do anything you do. And a little boy who is dreaming of the day he'll be like you. You are the little fellow's ideal. You are the wisest of the wise. In his little mind about you, no suspicious ever rise. He believes in you devotedly, holds all that you say and do. He will say and do in your way. When he is grown up like you, there are a wide-eyed little fellow who believes you are always right, and his eyes are always open, and he watches day and night. You are setting an example every day in all you do, for the little boy who is waiting to grow up to be like you.